Hey there, me again. Okay, now we're on part 8 of On the River Gran among the Quadi. Oh, excuse me. Here we go. Ignoring what goes on in other people's souls. No one ever came to grief that way. But if you won't keep track of what your own soul's doing, how can you not be unhappy? So again, broader theme of meaning, finding your purpose. What he's getting at here, he doesn't mean ignoring what's going on in other people's souls in the sense where you're just a very narcissistic, self-obsessed individual focused only on you, yourself, and your own problems. But not getting caught up in their passions and their influence. Nobody ever came to grief that way. So not being sidetracked. And again, if you watch the other videos, the past 3 or 4, they're all, I don't want to keep repeating myself here, they're all very similar themed. But yeah, not being too obsessed with other people, or being too obsessed with other people's souls and their passions is how you're going to come to a state of grief, because if you're spending your time and energy on them, then by logic standings or logic stance, then you're not focusing as much on yourself and your own passions, and then that will cause you to have grief. Maybe not immediately, but eventually, and you'll grieve the loss of that time, the loss of your energy, the loss of your youth that could have been spent doing this other thing, doing what you're really passionate about. But if you won't keep track of what your own soul's doing, how can you not be unhappy? So again, monitoring your soul, monitoring what interests you. Why are you curious about that? Why do you have a longing to get engaged in that? Asking yourself these questions of what is it about that thing that's important to me to either do or partake in, to explore, to research, to influence other people to do. If you don't explore those questions at some point in your life, unhappiness will follow, is what he's getting at, and I can get alongside that. I can agree with that quite strongly. And the sense of grief, because you hear this all the time, though, people who do eventually follow their passion later in life. There's two sides to it. Some people will say, I wouldn't have been able to do the thing until this point in my life, or I'm just happy that I finally did realize it, and began doing it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has their own path. There's nothing good or bad about it. I'd say more good that at least they eventually got on the train of their life. But there are also a lot of people who, they do go do these things and what they're passionate about, and they'll say it. They'll say, geez, I spent 10 or 15 years caring so much about what other people think of me, or that I shouldn't have opened up that bake shop. People told me I would fail, and so I never did. These things don't have to be a grand, successful accomplishments. Could be opening up a little toy shop or something, and you just make enough to break even and put food on the table and shelter, but you're purpose driven by it, by bringing happiness to kids and providing toys at an affordable price in your community. And I mean that to me sounds pretty grand as well. But yeah, there's where someone maybe didn't pursue something like that because they're they got into accounting earlier on and did that for 15 or 20 years because the money was great, and fit their lifestyle. There's flex hours or something, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But some part of their soul wasn't satisfied, and so there are elements there where, until that satisfaction is met, hopefully eventually, but that entire time leading up until then, there's the opportunity for there to be grief and regret for not making the decision earlier. And that's, or maybe at least not as happy as you could have been the whole time. But this can go so many ways. And yeah, to not just repeat myself a whole bunch based on the other videos on this book or chapter within Meditations. Yeah, like, I think we'll leave it there. But yeah, we're personally speaking here, but just do it. Just do an action. Do something that, if you're watching these videos and there's something that you want to do that just has your curiosity and has this spirit of you, or in you, that excites you and is interesting and just animates these parts of you that you love and that you want to show up in the world as, try to do something with that. Really do. Like, you're gonna be horrible at it probably at first, potentially, but it doesn't matter. Who cares? My God, like, if just, why not? Like, really, there's no real reason why not. Even if it's something financial or time bound, there's time in your day to do something, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes. And it doesn't have to be some expensive way to do it. I don't know if you're into photography or baking or what have you. There's ways to kind of feed that animating spirit cheaply within a reasonable amount of time, and just give it its due and just see what happens, see how you feel. And maybe you find out that it's so wonderful that you can find other things in your life that don't make you feel that way, and you can take a little bit of time there, add it on over time. It doesn't have to be big grand things, jumping off the deep end. Some people like that approach. Other people like to kind of go in from the shallow end and trickle in. Some people never go into the shallow and never make it to the deep end. Some people jump in the deep end and sink and need to be rescued, and they say, I'm never doing that again. But at least you tried it, and you're not going to look back and say, oh my God, I never did try to do that thing. I wonder what would have happened. You won't be able to have that wondering and that regret and that grief. Life here in Canada and the Western world is full of opportunity. People are kind, people are considerate and compassionate, and even the ones that aren't, why bother yourself with them? They're obstructions. Don't let them get in your way. Don't let negativity stop you, or hesitation, or people's opinions of you. What would you say to a friend or a child of yours who was considering some of these thoughts and considering doing something? Would you tear them down and give them every reason why it wouldn't work, or would you support them in some way, even some little way? Most people would say they would never treat a friend or someone that they love the way as poorly as they'll treat themselves. And that's a grand shame, so I don't know what else to say other than just get to it. In some small but meaningful way, do something that you're interested in if you're not already. And if you are already, then that's great. And keep at it. And if you're not satisfied yet, keep going. Find something else to do. You'll never be able to quench that thirst. You'll never be satisfied. And, you'll never know what will satisfy you until you are satisfied. And if you are, then that's great, and that's the goal. And so congratulations. But I'm a strong believer that people get what they settle for, not necessarily what they want. And so as long as you don't settle and you don't give up on yourself and your dreams, you're going to get there. Whether or not it's in a month or 10 years, things will happen, and you'll be better off along the whole way, and you'll learn something about yourself. And so best of luck to you, because you're going to go do it. Thanks for listening.